The other game that I was looking forward to went in a lot more positive of a direction, and that was the Seattle Seahawks at the Atlanta Falcons. The Seahawks were coming off a 3-game losing streak, and now they sit atop the NFC West. They played a really good ball game. They made a change at right tackle from Stone Forsythe. I think that was a huge move. K9 being even healthier than he was helped this D line played their I can't say their best game because they've had some really really good games this season, especially early on. But their best game in a while. They put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. They played with a lead for most of the game. And that changes the way Mike McDonald's able to call this defense. It changes the way they're able to rush. They're able to cover. It helps the secondary because this D-line, Boye Mafe, has been one of the best pass rushers this season and last season, going back into last season. When he's healthy, he's a devastating pass rusher. Byron Murphy, Leonard Williams got a sack. You just saw a lot of guys having their way with this team. And I think that's what you want to see, and that's what you appreciate in a Mike McDonald coach defense, that they're going to pressure, and that pressure creates turnovers. They're running a lot of too deep, and they're stopping the run. He made a point to say it. We have to be able to stop the run while playing too deep. And both his safeties, Kobe Bryant, who's had his struggles at times, switched positions to safety, got his first start, and had an interception, played a really good game, had been sound tackling. Sometimes you just got to stay the course. And he has stayed the course, and he got rewarded in an interception in this game. Julian Love is getting healthier, got an interception in this game. And it just goes to show, like, when this defense works, but it needs a lead. You need to have a lead. You need to be able to rush and show these disguises. It's hard to play this defense when you got to come from behind consistently, when you got to deal with deficits instead of leads. And Geno Smith, the numbers don't tell the story. He was 18-28, 207 yards, 2 TDs. But he just is under so much pressure every single game. And I don't mean pressure from the outside world. I mean legitimate pressure in his face. It's guys coming scot-free, guys, whether it's a blitz or they're just beating their men one-on-one. This offensive line, it just hasn't consistently done a great job of protecting him. In this game, they did a lot better, but still, he was under duress a lot of his game. His 2 touchdown passes came from pocket movement. He's staying within the pocket. He's keeping his eyes downfield. He's trusting his offensive line, and he's delivering dimes. If they could protect him and keep him upright, I mean, he can throw for 400 or 500 yards and really devastated, especially with the weapons that they have offensively. He delivered some really cool passes to K9, a dime to DK Metcalf right before the half. Even JSN got a pass in there, and it was a pass. I'm sure he would have got back to the receiver room had he not thrown that pass up to DK, and DK would have been like, man, if you would have just put it up, I would have called it. Now, every single time they run that play, JSN is going to be like, well, DK, I got to put it up there, or DK's going to come back to the room and they're going to be pissed off. And he's going to be like, I told you I would have called it. I'm not going to let him pick it off. That was a great pick, great adjustment by DK. Hopefully he's okay. From my understanding and everything that's out there right now, Mike McDonald seems to believe that DK Metcalf's injury isn't as serious as they thought it was initially. So that's positive, especially with everything else that's going on, the positive energy, everything is going in the right direction. They have a game coming up against the Buffalo Bills, who are a really good football team, but can be had. And if this defense continues to play at the level that they played at this game and that they played at the first 3 games of the season, I think they can win this game against the Buffalo Bills. Even though it's in Buffalo, it's a game that I don't see Buffalo getting a lot of pressure on Geno, and I think Geno can do a great job with Ryan Grubb coming up with a plan to attack this secondary of the Buffalo Bills, who've been beat up and they've been injured a lot of this season, and they've played next man up mentality. But I think they can have that game. But this is the kind of game you expect this team to have. And I know everybody was ready to jump off the bandwagon after they lost 3 straight, and legitimate, those were good teams. They were saying, hey, they just beat bad teams. Well, this was not a bad team. This Atlanta Falcons team had won 3 straight. They had been playing good football. Kirk Cousins had been playing. We just watched him on TNF throw for 500 yards. So we're not going to act like against a really talented Tampa Bay Buccaneers team who's been playing good football throughout this year. But Bijan Robinson has his best game of the season, gets 21 carries for 103 yards. And that's one of the concerns coming out of this game for a lot of the fans is, man, they didn't do a good enough job against the run game. Understand this. It's legitimate concern. It's legitimate. But 90 of those yards came in the second quarter. And when you go to halftime, if you would have told me after halftime they gave up 90 in the third quarter and they gave up 90 in the fourth quarter or something like that, then I'd be concerned too. I'd be like, oh man, they can't get it figured out. But this is a game of adjustments. Understand that the Falcons had a good plan coming into the game. They had some answers for some of the things this defense was able to do or this defense had done throughout the season. And so you go into the half, you say, hey, they have those answers. Now let's come up with our answers and our response to what they did. They were able to hold them to 28 yards in the second half. That's what you got to remember. And the biggest thing is 14 points. You can have all the rushing yards in the world. If you're not getting points on the board and you're getting stopped in the red zone, then it really is not that much of a concern. And they were able to hold this team who's been scoring points in bunches to 14 points. This isn't a team that's a low-scoring offense. They've been putting up a lot of points. They've been using their playmakers in a great way, and Drake London and Kyle Pitts, and they were able to hold both of them guys under 70 yards receiving. Sometimes you got to celebrate the victories. Don't just look for things to criticize and look for things to be frustrated about. Like, this is a hard game and it's a hard season, and this team hasn't had a lot of hope. This team is at the top of their division. They're playing good football. They go into a game against the Buffalo Bills that I expect them to come out with a victory. It's a game they can win going against a really good quarterback, but they have a really good quarterback. But do not be surprised now, because I know how happy everybody is with Geno, as they should be, because Geno's a good quarterback, but he deserves more money. So don't change your mind about him when he asks for more money, because he deserves it. He's been playing good football. He's playing at a high level. There are quarterbacks getting $55 million that aren't playing at a highest level as him. And I'm not saying he's going to get $55 million. I'm just letting you know there's quarterbacks. I mean, right now, Daniel Jones is getting 40-something million. You think he's better than Geno? He's not. I'll answer that for you. He's not. There are very few quarterbacks right now that are playing at a better level than Geno. And even those quarterbacks, you can watch the tape. You can check out the tape and look and point out mistakes in their game. So he's one of the most underrated and underpaid quarterbacks in the National Football League. So he deserves the money that he's going to get. I would expect it to be more than 45 plus $1 million soon. If the Seahawks are doing it right, they have no other succession plan. You're not about to be drafting high enough to get one of the top guys. So start to wrap your head around Geno being the quarterback for the foreseeable future. And that's a good thing. That's a positive thing. Geno's playing good football. This is the best he's ever looked in his career. He looks comfortable. He looks confident. He's a good leader in that locker room. He's respected by his peers, his teammates. He got all the weapons around him. He's got a great rapport with the coordinator. I think this will be a good thing for everybody. And I'm happy for Geno that he was able to find a home in Seattle. I'm looking forward to seeing him play next week against Buffalo.